I get appalled when people in society when you talk about bureaucracy, corruption and all, they say it's a cancer of the society. So what does that mean for cancer patients?
But then we also see this HNI and celebrity culture where they feel like, okay, going abroad is better than, getting the treatment done here.
People still have colonization mind because they still feel West is better. They want to go to West. When our Gujarat Center was inaugurated several years ago, Amitabh Bachchan came and he told me that I will never go anywhere for any disease outside. I trust my Indian doctors. He made a statement.
Sir, you have spoken about onco-philosophy. That is something very, very interesting. It's about having a positive outlook, about remission and everything.
See, as oncologists, we are also human beings. We have emotions, passion. But when you see an oncology patient, when the patient comes and says, for the last several years, she's alive now, doing good, and we are having dinner with her. We were told only few months now, few years later. That is what makes me feel great.
Why do you think doctors need to venture into technology, innovation and entrepreneurship?
A doctor, let us say you're running a hospital. A patient comes who can't afford. You will never turn away the patient.
You'll find a means
to take them. You will, even the doctor farmer say, I'll bring you some vegetables. You say, fine, bring me. See, that is the humanity of a doctor. Will do that. Mm-hmm. So essentially, money becomes very important for business entities. Mm-hmm. For a doctor, it is always why I became a doctor.
In the previous episode, we discussed Dr. Ajay's insightful views on Indian healthcare, its strengths and weaknesses, and the systemic issues holding back India from unleashing its full potential. Today, we will continue the conversation from where we had left it and also discuss docpreneurship, why we need to cultivate more doctors turned entrepreneurs running hospitals and medical facilities. Sir, my next query is based on one of the articles that I have read where you almost counterintuitively said that a good doctor need not be an honest doctor. Could you please explain this? Because it's little confusing, or I think we need to hear directly from you. Yeah.
See, there are... what is a good doctor? A good doctor is one when the patient goes, he has the deep knowledge. And he also is willing to seek knowledge, understand, because as we start treating complicated diseases, it becomes not anymore that simple. One person cannot know everything. If people ask me, Dr. Ajaikumar, you have been in oncology for nearly 50 years now, 1975. In the US, I started my first oncology career. And you must be an expert in oncology. I trained in MD Anderson, started 25 hospitals, Mysore Bharat Hospital, everything. I say, no, I'm not an expert in oncology because it is so complex, one person cannot know everything. Can I know the genomics? Can I know the natural status of the disease, the genomics? Why, if you take care of two patients, one of them respond very well, one of them doesn't respond? What is the story behind story? Can I go into the depth of genomics, mutation, new mutations, proteomics? What is the protein content of that? You need experts who are in that field to help you to put together. I am a facilitator. Okay. I take information from all the departments, radiology, PET scan, this, everything, and pathology, genomics. Patient is to put together, discuss with doctors and say, this is the treatment. Yeah. So, in this, a good doctor is one who is willing to do all that. Okay? And who uses his knowledge, also studies what is the research and treats the patient as though their own sister, brother or something, that way.
Okay.
Now, a good doctor should be also honest. Obviously, ideal thing is to be honest. But if the good doctor in the process makes some shortcuts, say for example, he gets a kickback, he gets everything else, honestly doing it, but he is doing the right thing for the patient. He's a good doctor. He has got a flaw in making this money. He wants to buy a penthouse. He wants to drive a big car. So he is ambitious for money. At the same time, he is good. Okay. A honest doctor is one who doesn't believe in all these cuts, this and all that, which is great ethics-wise, but he is not willing to seek that kind of knowledge. He doesn't spend time with the patient. And he's not that motivated. He is honest. He comes to work at 9 o'clock. He wants to go home at 5 o'clock. Sees the patient, gives them what treatment they should be given. But he doesn't really have that great knowledge. He's not a seeker. So, which would the patient prefer? My article is. Obviously, patients will prefer a good doctor.
Yeah.
But ideal thing is a combination of good doctor and honest. That is what HCG or Bharat Hospital culture is.
Okay.
How do we imbibe both of these cultures? Is it possible? For example, a doctor going to a fixed salary, fixed thing, maybe a good doctor, but he is satisfied. Man. I know I'm going to get my paycheck. I will see few patients, come out. Does his job, routine job. But he is not extraordinary.
Right.
But what we need is today, we need extraordinary people, extraordinary ideas, ambition. But you cannot curtail ambition only to knowledge. What problem with these guys is they're also ambitious for money. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So you have to create a model where you create a hybrid model where both are in there. You satisfy their ambition. So what I do is, doctor, what is you're a good doctor, you do this research, I want you. What is your ambition financially? He says, I want to be this. And okay, let us see whether we can do a construct for you. So financially also your ambition is met. I can share some of the profits, everything. But for you, you do this. So when you create that construct and say both are met, that is where HCG has really shined. Where even Bharat Hospital is shined. Because our doctor retention is phenomenal. Only 5% exit. So we can have a good doctor, an honest doctor in the same combination as one person.
Yeah.
What we don't want is a bad doctor and also a dishonest doctor.
That's a very bad combination.
Very bad combination.
Yeah.
And that is where I kind of say, because I have actually told doctors, by mistake, if you have somebody who is not capable, who's bad, who is also ethically wrong, I say, please leave. I don't mind. And sometimes the system gets worked up because of my honesty. But for me, the reason why I came back to India after 25 years is primarily to bridge the gap. I have written in my book about when I saw a kid waiting in Madhya Pradesh, doing my visit to all the oncology center for 12 hours for treatment to a stomach tumor, to get a broken down cobalt therapy. I said, this is not right.
Yeah.
I know the government cannot do all this. Bridge the gap. That is when I said, let's do. And today, I'm very happy to say nearly half the population of India, half the population can go to HCG center and get the treatment and sleep in their own bed. So, and we have 44 linear accelerators. We have so many PET scans nearly, highly equipped, centralized hub and spoke model. And same thing in our Mysore Bharat Hospital, not-for-profit. Lot of difficulties I've written in the book. Corruption. I ran the hospital for 1 year without people giving electricity and generator because they refused to bribe.
Yeah, we'll come to that
So
point.
I am very clear that the end doesn't justify the means.
Yeah.
So good doctor also and this honest doctor, they should also think, and that is one thing I want to do through my training program. I have a company called GHA, Global Health Academy. Through that, I want to train these people, budding doctors, and to see how you can be both a good and honest doctor. And that is what hopefully some of our policy institute working with GHA also will bring out.
Sir, you have seen two worlds. That is, one is the US. You have spent considerable amount of time, I think about 28 years.
Yeah.
And then also India as well. You have also been part of setting up the institution, the healthcare facility. But there is some kind of a glaring imperfection here because we see that although US has got better healthcare in terms of technology and everything, there are people who do come to India to get the Indians. I have my own relatives who have come from the US to get the care and then gone back. That too with much lesser cost
Yeah.
here in India. But then we also see this HNI and celebrity culture where they feel like, okay, going abroad is a better trade than, getting the, treatment done here. Why is this kind of difference that we see in people's perception?
See, regarding as I spoke about healthcare in India, I am very clear in my views that the private enterprise in urban India with the private corporates, the quality of care is equal or better than the Western countries.
Okay.
When you look at the time, the outcomes, and some of the newer technologies we use, very good. But we are not researchers. We lack in research, new drugs. That is the pitfall. But that is why, people come from abroad, few people, because quickness, fast, cost, like, for example, there the insurance is cumbersome. Even if you have insurance, the premiums are very high. So people would prefer to, like some other day, somebody wanted to get an appendix removed. It was a long waiting period in US. And they just said, came here overnight, got it done in 1 week, they're back. And their cost was maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
So premium itself would be that much there.
Yeah.
So it was easy way out. When it comes to very complicated disease like cancer, people still have colonization mind because they still feel West is better for that. They want to go to West because they have a brand name for decades and decades. For example, you will look at Sloan Kettering or MD Anderson or so. They have been there since 1960s. So we were not there. So we as HCG, we take a lot of pride in bringing the platform to this level. But the problem in the past has been because of the cost issues, the government not funding research and all, we lagged behind, even in technology in healthcare. I would say until HCG came in 2000, early 2000, started putting up linear accelerators, we were all worshippers of cobalt.
Yeah.
Even in the podium, the famous doctors would say India needs cobalt. Why? Because we are a poor country. Like I said, cancer doesn't know rich from poor.
Yeah.
But when you treat with cobalt, you treat the normal tissue so much, you cause lot of pain and suffering because it treats the normal tissue, and people wonder, is the treatment worse than the disease? That is why cancer got a bad name, and that is why I get appalled when people in society use, when you talk about bureaucracy, corruption and all, they say it's a cancer of the society. So what does that mean for cancer patients? And lot of the institutions in India, prominent, started using cancer care as terminal care, cancer care as palliative, and people put up hospice care. You ask me one thing, why is HCG doesn't have hospice care? Because we believe there is no need.
Okay.
No need, because if you treat cancer properly, right way, suppose let us say cancer itself doesn't cause pain, only when it presses on nerves. If you treat the nerve where it is pressing, cancer, it can be pain-free.
Yeah.
But we kind of, somebody wrote Emperor of Maladies, this, all that, making cancer, I think. So it's create fear. See, we should not create fear of cancer. We should say cancer is a lifestyle disease, let us accept. So when people get cancer in India, they, because of all these issues and the platform for great care in India, what HCG has come in only last 10-15 years. But other centers in other countries have a legacy of good cancer care. If you go to MD Anderson, where I train, people came all over from Latin America as a last hope. They came, research, phase 1 trial. So it has become well known, famous for that. That is why some people trickle. But having said that, when our Gujarat center was inaugurated several years ago, Amitabh Bachchan came. And he told me, I told doctor here, he told me, the chairman, that I will never go anywhere for any disease outside. I trust my Indian doctors. He made a statement. So all I can say is, but the funny thing is, these people who go abroad, they see Indian doctor only. Ah,
We are good in exporting
Yeah.
doctors to
so
abroad.
yes, until now there has been a issue
Mm.
that maybe India is not ready to receive me, treat me,
Mm.
but we can do damn good job.
Mm.
In fact, some of the prominent people, without naming, who have gone abroad,
Mhm.
who disease came back, they've come to
Mm.
us for treatment,
Mm.
and we've done it. Uh, but because cancer and all is such a long-term care, it is difficult to
Yeah.
be. So it is a transition period.
Mm.
I think eventually we get people coming from Middle East,
Mm.
coming from Africa, coming from Bangladesh. Lot of patients come.
Yeah.
So they know, you particularly with cost also,
Yeah.
we being lower cost and getting the same outcome,
Yeah.
it will only increase. Only my request is government should not get involved.
Yeah.
Recently government started saying medical, they use the word tourism, medical tourism, we will make sure.
Mhm.
Man, please government stay away, my advice is. Don't interfere and muddle up the issue.
Yeah.
So let us see how it goes.
So moving on, sir, from what I have learned so far, you have expertise in multiple domains. Now, coming to this oncology itself, HCG is actually leading the way in cancer care. So you have 24 comprehensive centers, and then today India has about 230 cancer centers under this national cancer grid. And of course, the affordability wise, we are about 70 to 90% less than any other countries, especially the Europe and the West. Now, but still, what we are seeing is that 95% of this cancer care facilities are in the urban areas, not in the rural segment. They have to come, travel, and then get this facility. So how do you and there are a lot of other issues also, that only 29% of cancers are diagnosed in stage 1 and stage 2, whereas also tobacco use accounts to almost 40% of cancers.
Yeah.
So how do you think India can address these massive gaps?
See, like I said, tobacco use very simple. Take a pen and write down and say ban tobacco. It will.
That's
But
not possible.
it's not possible. It is
Yeah.
possible, but they won't do it for various reasons. So that should answer. And then India should encourage alternate farming by farmers.
Okay.
Very important. And if you take an analogy, at one time British bad policy, but encourage people to grow only opium.
Mm-hmm.
And all the crops were stopped except opium. They incentivized farmers and forced them. Of course, that caused great Bengal famine. But you can take the positive side. If you're determined to say don't grow any tobacco, grow only certain crops, which are also commercial and which are not obviously cancer-causing agents, it can be done. The farmers can be happy. But tobacco companies may not be happy. So we have to, because tobacco is not only cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, all are related. See, all these diseases are inflammatory. Inflammation is the common cause of cancer, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular. And all of that is because of when you smoke or chew, you inflame the body because of that. So if you see tobacco workers, all their hands and face look burnt because of this inflammation.
Okay.
So it's very important we tackle that. And hopefully our policy institute also will tackle that in a different way going forward. Regarding this gap you talked about in terms of what we do, the disparity and all that, we address that little bit.
Yeah. In the
I think the universal healthcare is an answer.
yeah.
But like I said, prevention is always better than anything else. In oncology itself, when you look at it, we talked about it some. The why people come in late stages, lot of issues. India is some of the things I would like to say maybe a little bit controversial. India is also home for alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you have an ulcer, mouth ulcer, we see this all the time. A man or a lady has an ulcer, they go to nearby alternative medicine specialist who says, "Don't worry, take this medicine, the wound will heal." So they take keep on taking it when early stage. Only when it becomes bigger, they say maybe it's not working. They come to the right place. Okay. So that is why a lot of these diseases are advanced. Even a breast cancer, when it becomes a lump, people go to alternate medicine. The number of people who go to alternate medicine or do other things are very significant. And the side effects of that are huge. Recently in my tumor board, 4 patients in 30s essentially died because they didn't tell us they are on alternate medicine. So when they got drugs and all that, they had flare-up of side effects, low blood counts, infection, sepsis. So we couldn't save them. So all I'm saying is, people also to be honest to say I'm on alternate medicine, because they use certain drugs, medicines, and we are going to start a research wing on that, where they can cause some effects on the drugs we give. So is there any proof alternate medicine helps cancer? To my knowledge, there is no proof. But it is very much encouraged by the system, alternate medicine, and told that you should take, and India is the home, we can feel proud. Yes, see, when you use plant medicine, we can be proud. But the issue is this plant medicine, how is it going to work? We have to find out. For example, there is a yew tree in sub-Himalayan. Lot of we all used to go there, we had to backpack, and somebody 70s was going trekking and found that women were using that leaf for swelling to go down. So he investigated, a Westerner, and found that there is an active Taxol component and it became a miracle drug for ovarian, and today also it's extensively used. Of course, it's now produced synthetically. But all I can say is, plant medicine is huge, but we should have a laboratory, we should have a research
enough
facility
of research
to see what is the active ingredient of this. Is this active ingredient going to make a difference? Then we can make it a plant-based medicine. Okay, lot of medicines are plant-based, and then they create the compound and make it synthetic. So we have kind of lost out on that because we just go by tradition and say use it, and then side effects, and there are a lot of quackery. So India is also another issue, quackery. And another important issue in India is spurious drugs. A lot of my patients come, I want to touch on this, say, okay, can I buy the drug outside? Can I do the lab outside? Because the India is not well controlled. Spurious medicines may be as much as 40%. So how can you buy a drug outside and know it's going to work? So it's very important, particularly when you're dealing with a disease like cancer. So what we do is we buy directly from the manufacturer. Credible manufacturer. So we have a pipeline, we have everything, cold storage, everything. So that is what we try to tell the patients. I can't give it if you buy drug outside. It's not just cost, it's more. So these are some of the nuances which general public at large may not understand. You go to a side lab and get it. Is it accredited? There is a method called sync method. A sync method is where you give your blood, the lab goes and puts it in the sink and gives you a report. Puts it in the sink and gives a report. Made up report. That is also practiced in India. But there are very good labs, very credible, but there are also these neighborhood things which so who do you trust? So this becomes an issue in a vast country like India, to really bring about that kind of discipline and all. Even oncology, we don't have a national registry. We don't know. That is the problem. Alternate medicine, how many people are going to alternate medicine? What is the incidence of cancer in the local areas?
If you don't have a data, how do you work with?
In 1970s, I had full data of my place where I was practicing, county-wise, each case. Each case would be reportable. We don't have that. Because we are so disorganized, and government role should be that. Government
to monitor.
Monitor, man, monitor, do this. Don't get into everything. But they don't have that thinking. We will have to keep on fighting. Like for example, when a health minister comes, I may know them. I make one call and say, look, these are all the issues. You have 5 years to do. I leave it at that. Majority of the time, they ignore it. So I just say, okay, I've done my job and forget it. But You can't go on pushing. Why should you push? You are asking for a public. He's a public servant. He's supposed to do it. But they have their own agenda. They have their own revenue. They have their own models.
Unless they don't bring the right people on the board, it's going to be very difficult.
That's the key. Right people are not there.
Yeah.
And right advisors are not there.
Yeah, right. Sir, I'm not a very big fan of reading biographies, but then I stumbled upon your book, Excellence Knows No Borders. Such beautiful book that this is. I mean, in fact, I am really inspired. It's not just in the field for any medical practitioner or anybody for that matter. This is really a 24-karat gold mine, I would say. So, in this book, you have enumerated one of the philosophy which you have followed extensively in your HCG model itself, that is hub and spoke model. I would like you to enumerate a little bit on that. Why did you come up with that model in your center?
First of all, I'll tell you about excellence and I'll tell you about this model.
Yeah.
See, when you say excellence has no borders, actually it was given by Eric, my son-in-law. And how it came about is when I went to US, I went to a community to practice in 1979. And there were no so-called foreign practitioner there. There were 2 anesthesiologists from Taiwan or so. But otherwise, nobody was practicing actively. I was the first outside doctor from India practicing there. So I was worried how the community will take. Within 1 year, I was called Dr. Ajay. Within 1 year, I became so well known that people came from 100-mile radius, and I used to see nearly 90 to 100 patients a day. That is when I said, I can't really do this. How am I going to go back to India? Got a partners. So what that told me was, excellence, when you're good in your subject, assuming I was good, there's no borders. Wherever you go in the world, you'll be received well if you're good. Similarly, when I started looking at India, poor country, cobalt, this and all that, I said, no, if you perform excellence, even a poor person needs to access that. Should have no borders. That is how I said. And when I looked at it, obviously I can't have 100 oncologists in Ranchi or in Vijayawada. But in Bangalore, I will create an excellence center of excellence, and use spokes. Like means it will have all the facilities in Bangalore, doctors, high-end work. But spokes will do daily regular treatment. Like you take Ranchi, for example, can do all the linear accelerator, PET scan, regular, few oncologists. So when complicated cancers come, the spokes and the hubs connect to technology. Video call, patient call, and start discussing the case. And all the pathology, high-end work will come to Bangalore, cyber knife and all. So you don't have to put high-end work all over. But the preliminary work will be done at spoke. So the patient stay at hub also becomes legs. And 80% of the time, patients don't have to come. By the discussion itself, we can. So the model was, let the hubs be the center, nerve center, to make sure the patients who are at spokes don't have to travel thousands of miles, thousands of kilometers, but same time pretty much get the same treatment. But some treatment which are not available, they'll come here for a short period and go. And is it working very well? Not to my satisfaction. Because, the doctors to cooperate and work from the spokes was the main issue. But recently we have put I conducted tumor board on Tuesdays. I have put lot of systems in place to make sure doctors are monitored, audited. And I do like what I call as mortality review, recurrence case review. All of that has helped me to really connect the two. So it has been renewed interest now. Yesterday I had a significant number of cases being presented through the spokes. So the model is looks like it's taking hold now.
Sir, you have spoken about onco-philosophy. That is something very, very interesting. It's about having a positive outlook, about remission and everything. I think, it will be a very good subject to talk a little bit about it.
See, as oncologists, we are also human beings. We have emotions, passion, But when you see an oncology patient, when you see how, knowing that they have a limited lifespan sometimes, how they behave, how they laugh, take part in activities, positive approach, as well as some with negative approach, you begin to think about life. Some of the examples I have written in the book also. A patient who was told they got few days to live. When I first went to see her in 1979, July, when I told her that I'm going to start treatment, do this, she eyes widened up. You mean to say I'm going to live? I said, yes, you're going to do all this. Then I want to do skiing, For the next 8 years, she did a lot of things. At the end of 8 years, I'd come to India to do this plan in and out. As soon as I went back, she had progressed a disease. She didn't want any new treatment. She just wanted to thank me for all the 8 years, where all the things in life she had wanted to achieve, she had achieved. She died that night. So what that taught me is, look, she lived a full life. She did. And she was able to reflect on it, understand she said a full life and died. So we should not also fear death. Instead of that, we should think of life in a different way. And also, positive approach is so important. And when a patient who was, again, similarly, 7-8 years later, she was on a Sunday afternoon, her blood pressure was low, different patient. And in US, when you enter, the families go outside the room. And I was talking to her. And I literally, we are human beings, emotional. I was in tears. She said, doctor, don't cry. She wiped my hand. Said, I've had good years. I've done very well. Blood pressure 60/0. She was consoling me. So so many such evidences I have, case histories and all. Even now, even in India, so many patients who say, look, I came to you because my clinic is an advanced and recurrent. I deal with only patients who others say nothing can be done. Spend a lot of time. When the patient comes and says, for the last several years, she's alive now, doing good, and we are having dinner with her. We were told only few months now, few years later. That is what makes me feel great. What do I learn from this about life? And we have people who are, extremely greedy, negative, all the time bitter. Like I give an example when I was doing IPO in Mumbai, Narimal Point, big hub. There was a man in skates with no legs and arms, skates, crossing the road with a person laughing and smiling and telling the other guy, I did this and all that. Then there were people honking in Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, angry and all
frustrated.
That. I said, look at the difference. That through oncology I've learned this, the inner things of human nature, philosophy. Because philosophy is something, I have read philosophy of Socrates, I have read Plato, Republic, all of that. But it is not about reading. It is about understanding people behavior and what do you learn from that. So that is why in oncology I've learned so much from my patients. I call it onco-philosophy. Because oncology is a disease which is considered difficult disease. We use all the terminology like I said. And how do patients behave when they know they may have limited lifespan? How do they change? And what it teaches me as an individual. I want to really put it out, write about it, so people can learn from it. That is why I call it onco-philosophy.
In the article, I also read that these cancer cells have a way to communicate with the other cells, and then, so how does that work?
I don't know, communicate. Only thing is the difference between cancer and other cells is cancer cells are indefinite growth. They don't die. They keep on growing, left to themselves. Whereas normal cells have what we call a senescence, they die at a particular point. So the difference between the two is one is indeterminate growth, another is limited. Our goal would be to reverse it. If only you make normal cells live forever, you have immortality. You will never die. You can age. And you make the cancer cells die, you have an answer to cancer. Okay? So that is the main difference between cancer and normal cells, and that is the enigma of cancer. How do you tackle this problem? Mutation, this and all that. And that is, in future, people have written about immortality or why do we die, books have come. Very interesting, very thing. I also want to looking at a age reversal institute to understand the genomics and other things and see how we can reverse age. So there's a lot of new things, exciting things for all of us.
So let's pivot to the second important topic of today's discussion, which is docpreneurship, which is your favorite topic. Why do you think doctors need to venture into technology, innovation and entrepreneurship?
See, for me, knowing the subject is very important to start an enterprise. Today what is happening is, in the past, in India was known for doctors running small hospitals, nursing homes. Doctor is a gynecologist, he has his own nursing home, people go and do. Doctor is a neurologist, he has his neuro center. Because then he would be in that specialty and do. But today, because of various things, doctors are also getting into other specialities. And in my view, you should stick to what you are. I always say it is like going to a restaurant which gives you masala dosa, dokla, parotas and pizzas. It cannot be that good. It will be average, maybe above. Whereas if you go to only dosa maker or pizza maker, you know they will be likely to be really good because they specialize. So when a doctor specializes, a doctor-preneur should be one who only sticks to his specialty. Like at CG mostly is oncology. I know oncology. People have come and asked me, can you do other things? I say, no, I'm not at this point. I can encourage others, but I don't want. So now what has happened is the matter is now complicated by business entities coming. Because now all the business people who are in various fields, somebody sold their software company. What do you want to do? I want to get into healthcare. Somebody, a steel magnate, one day told me, I want to get into healthcare, doctor, can you help me? I said, why? Because that is where the money is. A real estate guy says, I want to build a hospital and run it. So it is really sad. So doctors are also giving way and doctors are working for them. So I feel it is not correct. You should do what your specialty is. Others coming into this field is wrong, particularly healthcare. Healthcare should be focused factory approach. A doctor who knows the business should be the one running. And employ managers, employ professionals to do the administration. But a doctor and a business entity, there's two differences, I'll tell you. A doctor, let us say you're running a hospital. A patient comes who can't afford. You will never turn away the patient.
You'll find a means
to treat them. You will, even the doctor farmer say, I'll bring you some vegetables. You say, fine, bring me. See, that is the humanity of a doctor. Will do that. Will the businessman ever do that? Very rarely. You know, they will make sure.
That's not the intention.
That is not the intention. They'll make sure. Even at trust hospital, very few do that. They haven't found everything. So all I want to say is, some trust hospitals do. Okay. But I have done a calculation of some of the non-profit hospital versus what HCG charges. Pretty much the same or more. So I can tell you that. So essentially, money becomes very important for business entities. For a doctor, it is always why I became a doctor. But so there are of course anomalies. There are people, but overall, a doctor who becomes an entrepreneur, I think in the medical field, he or she can contribute a lot. Not only in care, research and other things. So that is why I tout the idea of doctor-preneurs, and I'm going to do some classes. I've done some to encourage doctors to learn about this, about finances, maintaining, what is operational excellence, what are the things, quality, outcomes, strategy. All of that becomes very important for doctors.
Being an entrepreneur myself, I can definitely tell that entrepreneurship is a very treacherous journey. You yourself, being an entrepreneur, you have gone through so much of hardships. It's not a very easy journey, right from setting up Bharat hospitals. When I was reading the book, I was just, it is very inspiring how you stood the test of time. Many hardships were there. I just, written down some of them, like you had the difficulty, right from difficulty in procuring the land, then there were expectation of bribes from officials and the government, and then there was a negative press coverage, there was a union workers union backlash as well, and the amount of hardships that you have gone through is humongous. But tell me why that, although it is a treacherous journey, you still are advocating and encouraging doctors, which is their primary profession, and they have to get into all these things because it's not going to be easy for them. Maybe back then the regulatory norms were different, but now it poses a different type of issues. From a policy perspective, what do you think that the government can do to make this easier for doctors, and are there anything that people can look out
I
to?
think you summarized it well. The hardship I went through, I never thought about it as hardship. I thought about it as a challenge. Because more you people challenge, my DNA is I will try to do it rather than give up. See, for me, like I say, glass is always half full. So I don't give up that easily, whatever I do. So I think that is important for doctors once you determine not to give up. And people take shortcuts. You should not. Because what happens is, whether it is land, whether it is having an aspiration to do something, if you go the straight royal path, you will feel good and you will also succeed. And you don't have any obligation to anyone. So for me, the advice from the system is encourage doctors, but the bureaucracy is so tight. The suspicion is so tight. Like we talked about doctors in private, they only squeeze, they make money. I don't think we have reached a point where the government will willingly help. Like look at in the COVID time. In US, hospitals got $500 million, millions of dollars. Each household got 10,000
in aid.
In aid, just checks were given. In India, hospitals, whatever we were suffering, not even 1 rupee government gave, not even 1 rupee. So that thought process is not there. That social cause they tout, but how to help the society, which are private enterprise, the government doesn't have. And this is a major issue in the present day government, where government alone thinks I alone can do, I alone are indispensable. See, we have to make government dispensable. How do we do that is the challenge. One IAS officer told me, I said, what are bureaucrats do we really need? Doctor, look at me. I live in a big house. I have all these people helping me, cooks, drivers. You think I will give up easily? You have to come and take it from me. I will not give up. So no, you can imagine a politician. Politicians tell me, hundreds people come to me, doctor, everything. You tell me that you give up politics and do something? No. So, see, politicians are all supposed to be your servants. But on the contrary, we treat them as bosses, lords. So this kind of reverse thinking is what has caused the problem. Like, if you go stand in line, wait for hours to meet a minister or something, to get something done, it is pathetic. It is pathetic. So the system should be so free. The system is accommodating you. Suppose some entrepreneur doctor has an idea. It should immediately say, here is, I'm going to fund you so much. You go and do this. Let us see, where are you going to this rural area? Primary healthcare we talked about. Are you going to help primary healthcare? I'll fund you. Go ahead and do. But government says, no, I alone will do. And they have failed miserably.
Yes.
So then government doesn't accept failure. When we talk about education, we'll talk about that, how education system has failed in rural area. But you're not willing to accept it. How many times you see an article by government people saying, we failed in this? Never. Okay? Chamarajnagar, 20 youths died of lack of oxygen during the COVID. What has been happened? What investigations have come out of it? Nothing, zero. 3 years have gone by. Why did that happen? Okay? Government doesn't accept responsibilities for failures. Accountability is not there in government. They tout, I sent a man to moon, but how many failures have happened? What has happened? Even certain stampede deaths happened somewhere. government accountabilities. Fire happens, railway accidents. What happens? They say, I will start a committee, but that is the end of it. So unless responsibility comes to government, accountability, right people are in the right place, system will not change. It is the private enterprise. It is what is driving this country, wealth of this country. And we need to really come together. And there are really good thinkers, think tanks, well-meaning people in private enterprise who have to take up this issue, taxpayers' rights, this I spoke about. All these issues they have to take up. And that is why I hope this think tank will propel us to that level and encourage others. Like when we did oncology, everybody said oncology will not succeed. Oncology is a failure. We succeeded. Like that, I hope this policy institute will propel others to think about it and start their own policy, think tank, coming together. So there will be a movement. And Antardhwani is a movement where we have almost 4,000 women who are registered, youths who are registered. So we will drive this as a movement and train people to take this in a very programmed, systematic way. But only looking at the systems, not any personal issues. Systems to see how we can make a change in this.
And we hope there are hundreds and thousands of Dr. Ajays coming in the future. And sir, no discussion is incomplete without talking about AI. I have a small data to tell about. AI in healthcare sector is expected to add about $25 to $30 billion to India's GDP by the end of 2025. This is an article that came out through improved efficiency, cost reductions, and better patient outcomes. But rest of the world is surging ahead, sir. Recently, there was an article where we read, DeepSeek R1, which is a Chinese AI language model that has come up. And then, of course, American competitors are there like OpenAI, Meta AI, Gemini. There are so many AI models. But surprisingly, and also sometimes it is shocking to me that we wake up only when there is something that comes from China. Like we were all the time sleeping, but then, India AI mission, they released about 10,000 crores for this AI initiative to, come up with the indigenous model. But until the DeepSeek thing came, we were not awake at all. There was no discussion about, something to do with AI. So how do you think that we are going to, win this race? Are we too late? Or is the amount too little from the government that they have set aside?
Again, the government role, I feel, is to encourage. But regarding AI, there has to be a clear-cut policy from the private enterprise and government. What is in AI we are looking at? AI, is it a complement to the human excellence, or is it a substitute? Okay. In my view, AI only is a complementary, particularly in healthcare.
Okay.
People talked about AI diagnosing cancer. People talked about AI diagnosing a lot of infections. But when you look at diseases that like cancer, they are so heterogeneous, so complicated. To create something, an algorithm, which will mimic what has happened in the past, and based on that come up with a certain treatment or algorithm to say this is how we should treat, is not going to be that easy. They did in radiology, they tried to do pathology. Lot of startups, I'm also involved in, lot of them have come to us to do. While we encourage them, but your expectations should be different. People are asking high valuations based on future. All of this greed factor is an issue. Like for example, OpenAI is a non-profit. Whether we can do something like that, government can float that idea and see how people can access their intelligence to this AI model to see how we can develop certain things.
Is this fund, whatever government has set aside, reaching the right parties?
I don't know really. I don't think at this point. But again, you have major IT companies. They can invest in this along with government, AI, and encourage it in even not only urban, rural areas, AI institutes. But question is, some great thinkers have said, I think the book by Nexus, that Harari, the guy who wrote Sapiens, is very negative about AI. While we all love technology in future, there are people who are also concerned about AI's side effects. AI can have major negative effects on the society. We all should not become like the movie Matrix or something. Okay, so and our individual thinking should not go away. As of now, when you look at the impact of the streaming TV, this and all that, unfortunately, the family discussions, table discussions are not happening. People are scrolling all the time. Sometimes I'm also a victim of that scrolling. And this is really interfered with your individual thinking, knowledge. That is what I talked about oncophilosophy, thinking, why is this person, why? That why is gone. Because this is teaching you why. If AI is going to teach you why, you go to ChatGPT, my son says, I can get everything I want. I'll tell you to all the research. Where is your individual research? Like a Google map. It was so fun to go from one city to another in US by using our own maps and say, okay, take this exit number 18. Today, everything is told and there's auto cars. So, really in future, are we going to just, what is our brain capacity to be? How are we going to, majority of human being? For example, in US, 60% are not only high school graduates. Only high school. So it's the other 40% or college graduates are driving all this. What happens to the 60% in future who don't go to college, who don't have any AI issues and all? We are not thinking a lot of things in the farming. What is going to happen? And what is going to happen to organic farming versus this? So there are a lot of things. While AI is good, it should be subservient to us.
Yeah.
We can't become subservient to AI.
To the AI.
We have to look at it in a very thoughtful way.
Yeah. So with this, we come to the end of our podcast discussion. Lastly, I would like to ask you, what would your wish list, in terms of short-term, mid-term, long-term wish list for the Indian healthcare as well as the docpreneurship?
Yeah, as I said, the right people should be in the right place to take healthcare to a different level. Doctors, medical professionals, particularly private enterprise, should play an important role. Government should become a monitoring, and government should understand this. It is hard to give up power you have. Government at some point should decide, I'm willing to give up and work on this. That is the hallmark of a mature society, and we should become like that. Universal healthcare, what I talked about, is the answer, and our policy institute will work very hard to see how to influence the right people to at least make an attempt to make this happen in our country. And that is a road towards becoming an advanced country. Any advanced country cannot boast unless they have uniformity in healthcare and education. That is a hallmark. And disparity in health has to be addressed. Wealth has to be addressed. That is why our policy has taken these 3 Ds as our challenge. And I hope with all the team we have, extraordinary people we have, I mentioned Sita Lakshmi, Rahul, all the people, we can really take it to that level. We have to work very hard. It is a hard work. And because whenever I say no, that means the work is, your door is shut. When you say yes, I will take it up, and the door opens. The path is there for us. So we are saying yes to this.
Okay. So with this, we come to the end of the podcast, and I can definitely tell that this has been an exciting and also an eye-opener for me in a lot of topics. Thank you so much.
And it has been a very interesting day for me also. And thanks for all the interaction.
Thank you.